guys, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Jen, and today we are talking about our partial lunar eclipse that's coming up on Friday the 28th. This is going to be about 18 after midnight here, Eastern Standard Time at 4 degrees, 54 minutes of Pisces. So there's that 4 coming. And again, if you watched about Barbo's Basket, we have a lot of 4s popping up on our degrees. So we're putting this out a little bit early because we're just beginning this waxing period. So, with our solar eclipse that just happened on Wednesday, so just the other day, and as the moon waxes, the effects of that solar eclipse continue to just resonate. We have some important aspects that we can work with to really prepare ourselves for the emotions that we may face with this full moon, our lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces. So you want to stay with us till the end, definitely try to. We're going to go through all the signs of what this is going to mean for your rising sign. So since July, the energy has been very high. You may be feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, like there's always something new popping up. And I just wanted to find some peace really with that connection with the Lionsgate portal that actually just closed with our solar eclipse. But we're so deep into the dog days of summer. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm already sweaty out here. I'm hot, I'm sweaty, I'm uncomfortable. I'm overall just a little bit pissy. I don't know if you guys all feel the same way, but there's just seems like it's nonstop. Everything is nonstop, and everything seems like negative. There's not a whole lot of positives going on. And so the energy that I was feeling wouldn't really allow me the headspace to really focus and get all I could out of that. But I did concentrate on staying inside, put the air conditioner on, of course, and giving my altar a good cleanup and, just symbolizing clearing out the own, dust and dirty residue within my own self. So that was some positive that I did get from that. So we just had our solar eclipse in Leo on Wednesday. That's what I've been talking about. So with that double kite formation that is in that. So if you haven't seen that video where I explain the double kite and everything, all the aspects involved in that, definitely want to check that out, and I'll link that up here and at the end, and down in the show notes. So with that double kite, you could either be taking off, or you could have your light dimmed and crash down to the ground. That's mainly for not even us, unless you're somebody big, a big wig of somebody in charge, but it's mostly those people that you look up to, those leaders, those celebrities, people that you've looked up to for advice. So as our new moon eclipse waxes to fullness to our partial lunar eclipse in Pisces, Pisces is that sign of transformation and evolution, and we'll face a lot of challenges along the way as we move towards that. Um, so, especially with the Piscean traditional and modern rulers, so that would be Jupiter and Neptune. So, but first on the 17th, as we start, it's about halfway, making our way up to that, Mars will square Neptune, and I don't know, but that almost might be that first quarter period. So I'd have to double check that. But that can cause some confusion. So that is where you kind of get those checks and balances and feelings of maybe being deceived, where you're, starting to second guess things. You might feel a little bit misled, kind of like what we expected that solar eclipse to bring to us. But we find hope that same day because we have Venus in Libra making a sextile to Jupiter. So these are our two benefics. And sextile is that nice, easy, working well together. And that can be beneficial and supportive, enabling you to strengthen those good relationships and have maybe even favorable monetary pursuits. So, if no one still has won lotto, who knows? Maybe that's going to be around the time somebody does. And, maybe even something as simple as catching that flash sale that comes up. But I think we also have it building towards a opposition with Saturn that's actually going to be coming up on the 21st. So just a couple days later. So we might actually be trying to get a little bit away from that frivolousness and getting more towards necessity. So maybe it's, you hit a gas station that has it, a nice low gas price and it feels good. So these kind of things can be beneficial. Something sort of like that. Your groceries have some surprise sales that you didn't expect. So I think that, it's going to be more towards like a little bit beneficial for the necessities in life, not really for those, wants or those, so it's for the needs other than the wants, which is a lot of what this eclipse has to do with. So, um, where you might be feeling isolated in your everyday life, like I said, there's a lot of heaviness going on lately. This can be due to this unsurety with this Mars and brought on by the Mars uh, configuration. So take the time to really just reflect and avoid those the big purchases, the frivolous purchases again that you might have been talked into. Your used car salesman are going in and, oh, you need to have this. This is a need. This isn't just a want. This is something that you need to have. You need to have this extra special X. And maybe ask advice from a professional. So if you're buying a car, maybe have somebody that is a mechanic go along with you if you know somebody, or even an investor if you're looking to invest in stocks, maybe even a relationship counselor. So this could have to do with relationships and commitments, and maybe that's something you might want to look into and get some advice on as well. So shift your ideas to your long-term goals other than just your short-term make me happy instantly type goals. The solar eclipse that we spoke about, Neptune being that luminol, exposing the evidence of the crime. So things hidden in the dark, exposed by that dark light that shines on them, just like luminol. And that's kind of what Neptune did in that fallen kite aspect. And this will continue to come to a head where we see more and more things coming into the light. Our lunar eclipse full moon Pisces is a mutable sign. So that mutable sign is one, it kind of cleans up the mess. So with the solar eclipse, we're finding out what the mess is and where the crimes are. And then with this eclipse, the lunar eclipse, we're cleaning it up afterwards. And now on the day of the lunar eclipse, Mercury will square Uranus. And as well as the sun and the moon. So uh, is also going to be squaring Uranus. So that is going to create a T-square with Uranus at the apex. So we have the sun and moon in their opposition. The sun's actually conjunct to Mercury, and then we have um, them both, the moon and the sun, squaring Uranus. So that creates a T-square, and that is an uncomfortable, kind of a difficult aspect, you could say. So with Uranus at the apex, at that critical point, the mutable T-square within this lunar eclipse will definitely bring a shakeup. And especially with Uranus in Gemini, it's going to be, things coming out and more of that, news coming out, exposure, and that type of thing. A lunar eclipse can really refer to more the inner experience as opposed to the solar eclipse is the outer experience. So with the solar eclipse, we could see things happening to other people, like I said, to our leaders, to the people that we've looked up to before, that we may be feeling deceived by then, that we thought one thing and ends up being something else. Where this eclipse, we're kind of building to now, where do we go from here? Kind of like I said with this, that those mutable signs being the ones that clean up the mess. Okay, now how do I deal with this information that I have? How do I deal with these changes that are going on? And this is what we're going to be working towards. And this is why I put this video out early, because of those other aspects that give you that feeling of being deceived. Like, okay, so now that I know this, I know that that wasn't true. And this could be, again, very personal to us. Um, so this is going to be how kind of we as a people, as personally relate to what we are hearing. So this could also be very highly spiritual yet emotional as you struggle to let things go. You really need to, if you're connected spiritually, if you like meditating, those are the things that might calm your mind a little bit with this time. The this is a north node lunar eclipse. So this is kind of like a catapult that kind of like I said, we're cleaning out the muck. This is what this change is all about for us as a collective society. It's just cleaning out the muck. So this is what the solar eclipse did. It's exposing the crap pretty much. And now we're coming through and we're going to start cleaning it up. And so it's kind of like a catapult that's going to give us another little boost towards the future. It's all these building blocks. And, once these emotions, insecurities, those things, maybe even a frightening, unknown future is like looming and we don't know how to deal with that. Once we start kind of finding some calm and some peace, then we'll know how to move on. So facing reality with all the changes around us, letting go of that fear and the loss of faith and the loss of trust. Like, okay, so if our leaders are lying to us, if our news people are lying to us, how do we trust them again? How do we move on from here? So where do we go? And I think that's where a lot of the confusion is going to come from. Um, but this can also be very personal. So we look at these in the personal ways of how this could affect just your personal life, things that you find out in your own personal life. Maybe things that you differ on with your friends, with your work people. But we'll get into all that and how it looks in for each of your signs. But so the full moon is, again, a climax. The full moon is a lunar eclipse, and that's a climax. It's an acknowledgement to yourself and enabling that you can release this. It allows you that spiritual awakening, helping you grow and mature, using this new information that you have. Also, the sun conjunct Mercury in the sign of Virgo is ready to like kind of, I want to get to the nitty gritty and I'm going to pick all this apart and I'm going to find out everything. I'm not just going to like hear something and then let it go. I want to find out more. So this is about really digging for the dirt, really wanting to know everything and why this happened and how this happened and blah blah blah. So um Mercury is under the sunbeams at this time, so it is a little bit, in opposing the eclipse moon. So we do have it not in its most, its brightest state. So it's a little bit challenged, but this is so quick that it's going to come out from under those beams and really, to start picking away at things. The T-square formation with the Sun and Mercury conjunct the Moon, the Sun and Mercury conjunction opposite the moon, obviously, squaring Neptune, can have us filled with anxiety. So with Mercury in there, it's like activating your nervous system and like just kind of like almost like an electrical current. So it could be moving through you, feeling like you're overstimulated. Instead of like we've been so tired, I would expect, I know I have, and I've heard from a lot of people that like it just seems like they're exhausted all the time, that you know, but I think that's gonna change. And with this lunar eclipse, we're gonna feel a little bit more amped up. We're gonna feel maybe a little jittery, overstimulated, like ready to go, ready to do something, even if we might not even know what that is at this point. So excited yet nervous. You know how you get that, maybe first date jitters where you're getting ready to go on a first date and you're excited, but yet you're nervous, like, oh my God, kind of like a blind date. You could also be overwhelmed with a sense, like, that sense that, okay, nervous that something's going to happen in the world around us. Your highs can drop to the lowest lows without warning because of that, like that electricity that's flowing through you. You could be on the verge of depression and then all of a sudden pure joy and excitement about something that you hear or do or whatever. The T-square helps to find the balance between our needs and our wants. So it kind of is pulling us away from those wants and pushing us more towards the needs, that moon. That's what the moon is wanting us. It wants to find, and that's where the North Node is. So we want to move towards those needs because an eclipse is in very close proximity to the nodes. So if it was um, an eclipse that was conjunct the south node, it would be more about releasing and maybe going back to comfort zone and that type of thing. Now, this is going towards something. So going out of your comfort zone, going towards the things that you need. This is Pisces, and not just those things that you want, which is that Leo. Uh, what's the so anyway, to that we had the Leo that we had with the solar eclipse. We're kind of moving away from that. So we thought we needed some things, but now we know it's. Or we thought we wanted these things, but now we know what we actually need. Chili's getting in the water. So to find that balance, you use the Uranus that is at that apex point, because that is where you're going to find the knowledge. And knowledge is essential to find that balance, to find that understanding for the things that you might not understand. So to find that first is, also what's missing. So what is missing is that empty leg of the T-square. So this is a mutable T-square. So we have Uranus and Gemini. So Gemini's full, Mercury and the Sun in Virgo, and then, of course, Moon in Pisces. So what's missing? We have Sag. Sag is empty. So Sag is travel, faith, freedom. It's optimism for the future. That's what I mean about that excitement. So this is the things that we need to draw upon that we might be missing right now, because we might not have that excitement. We might not have that optimism. We have more kind of fear. Be more adventurous, be spontaneous, do something outside the box, like I said. Really look at where this falls in your chart to know, and of course it plays a lot with the planets that you have in those as well. But first is with any lunar eclipse, I want to kind of emphasize some just kind of mundane things for you that aren't with this particular eclipse, but with most lunar eclipses, especially one in Pisces. It affects the water. So, and also oil and other fluids. So, like I was saying about, building up in that oil, gas prices, and that type of thing, they could be coming to a peak, and they actually could maybe start to fall right after that. But other fluids as well. So, for one, I wouldn't recommend getting any surgery at this time, on that day, especially because blood may have trouble clotting. You could have other bodily fluids discharging, that could cause infections. And I actually knew someone a few years ago that was having major heart surgery during an eclipse. And I was like, oh my God, please change it. But it was really something that couldn't be changed. It was getting like too close. And he actually had a lot of issues come after. And he ended up being in the hospital a lot longer than they had expected. He had issues with, draining through where he had his incision, and it just wouldn't stop. And it got scary for a while. But of course, he's okay now, so thank God. But this is things that could come up if you decide to have that with an eclipse. So flooding is also a possibility. Bad storms, dangerous waves. So if you're surfers, be careful, because you don't know, especially with that T-square with Uranus, it could something could change really quickly. So it also may be a time that you feel maybe self-medicative. So please be mindful, especially if you have had addiction issues in the past. And also, if you know somebody that's depressed, or if you have kind of a history of depression or breakdowns, thoughts of suicide can be higher, especially during a Pisces eclipse. So seek, seek professional help if you are feeling those, if your mind is really working against you, and if you know somebody that is in need and having some issues, you might want to reach out to them as well. So also, you want to watch out for foot issues. Take care of your feet. At this time, I would really avoid getting a pedicure, because I think of staph infections. I think if you have a ingrown nail, all of a sudden it gets pulled out and you lose a. Sorry, I knew it was going to happen at least once. Pixie always has to go brushing up against the camera. So anyway, so you want to be careful with that. You say you have like a ingrown toenail, get it pulled out. You could have some bleeding, trouble walking afterwards. And I mostly worry about staph infections. You've heard about that. So when looking at what to expect in your own chart, look at what houses or areas, angles that these fall on. So first of all, where do we find Mars square Neptune? Where do you Where have you felt misled? What areas of your life do you feel like you've been deceived? Maybe Venus opposite Saturn, where does those fall? Maybe you feel alone, isolated in this area. Where does the full moon fall? Um, and where does Uranus fall? And also, what's missing? Where's that missing leg in your chart? That, what's missing in order to help make those changes? Something that you might need to kind of lean on, that you don't have that extra crutch, that you have that missing piece. So for Aries, you might have felt some deception at home with family or someone that may be working on your home. Maybe empty promises, someone saying they can do something dirt cheap, but ends up being really expensive, or they don't fix it the right way. They kind of half-ass it. Also, this could be with your partner. You might be feeling like you're getting a little bit of the cold shoulder. Maybe they've been a little bit deceptive, like they're doing more kind of for themselves instead of for you as a couple. This may cause you to shut down a little bit, get reclusive. Sadness and depression might creep in, but you need to move towards that. You need to accept, like, okay, maybe I do need to kind of be in a world of my own for a little while in order to heal. It could be time to just be alone, think, meditate on things, and just, okay, well, maybe I was thinking this was a little bit better than what it actually was. Maybe take a walk, take a drive. Um, if you're losing faith in that relationship, you may find yourself drifting away. So maybe if you want to reconnect, maybe plan a retreat and reconnect somewhere remote so you can just be with the two of you under the stars. Sometimes you might need to just get away from all the hectic life, especially if you live in a city, a bustling city. You might want to get away and just kind of be alone in a cabin or a tent somewhere out in the middle of nowhere. So if you're a Taurus rising, transportation or communication can be affecting your job. Transportation meaning like maybe you don't have a reliable vehicle. Maybe gas is too expensive and you're having trouble paying for gas. Maybe communication isn't going very well. So maybe, you're late for work on a basis. Maybe that water cooler gossip is, not your friend. Maybe you've kind of been a little bit of an outcast and you haven't really made bonds with people within work. And you need to connect with these people on a different level. These are the needs that not the wants. You might want to have the, more pay. I want to have the more fun assignments. But sometimes you need to do things like as a group and really connect as a group. So then they can depend on you and you can depend on them. So, maybe start up a carpool so that you all drive into work together. You have a little extra time together in the morning so you guys can talk about your day, and then you get a little more personal. So you get a little more of a closer connection. It can really benefit. If you're a Gemini, this could be bad investments that you've made in general, bad advice that you took about finances. Also, things that could have gotten you in debt. Bad, it's like, oh, I invested in this stock that looked like it was great, and then it ends up, not being good at all, and it's just tanking. Like say SpaceX, for instance. So you maybe normally lean on your family to bail you out in times like this. So, maybe you put everything into it and you thought I'm gonna, have a cash payout, but then you don't. So, oh, I'm just gonna ask mom and dad for money, or I'm gonna stay with them for a while if I'm having issues. You might need to break away from that. Get away from that mommy, daddy, even a spouse. If you're constantly like just relying on your spouse for money and you're not doing anything to be independent on your own, you might not. You might want to start really looking at establishing yourself in a career. This could be your need. Might need to like, okay, I need to boost myself, boost my career. Maybe start applying for things. Go outside your comfort zone. The last job that I had before this, I I was there for almost 20 years, and it said you have to have a bachelor's degree. I didn't have any of those. I didn't have a master's. I didn't have a bachelor's. I applied anyway, and I got the job. And I worked there for 20 years, and it was a really great job that helped boost me. So try it. Give it a try. Have that confidence in yourself. And also, you're a Gemini. You have that gift of gab. Sell yourself. Tell everything good, right down to the nitty gritty. So if you're a Cancer, you may feel really down about yourself. Trouble forgiving yourself for past things that you might have done, like, oh, I really regret this. And you can't get away from those regrets. trauma from even childhood, maybe. Maybe you're feeling second best, like, oh, mommy always loved him better. It's kind of like those Smothers Brothers. I'm sure no one knows who the heck they are anymore. But you could be feeling like that overlooked child syndrome where you're always kind of like the middle child, like what's her name on I can't think on Brady Bunch. Anyway, finding faith and spirituality, even getting back into school, can really be just what you need. Learning new things, learning, different ways of connecting with other people. This is what spirituality, even, maybe going to an organized religion if you're into that type of thing. If you didn't finish high school, especially, it might be time that you want to go back for that degree. Missing your spiritual side, try meditation, try religion to make you boost your self-worth a little bit more, to make you feel a little better about yourself and not feel like you're second best. So if you're a Leo rising, you could be facing some addictive behavior here, maybe some substance abuse, even sex addiction, gambling. This could be a problem that you need to overcome, like gambling, drugs, money loss. These can be toxic behaviors that you keep falling back on. You might lose some money, or like, oh, okay, so gas prices are high, so I'm going to start gambling some money. I'm going to start buying a load of lottery tickets. So maybe too much also following the crowd. It's time to get away from those toxic influences, wanting to fit in. And you want to go more towards what you need, more towards spending wisely and investing in your future. Like, look at your debt. I need to get this paid off. This is the need. This is what you need to do, is pay off your debts and start looking at your future. Be the leader that you are, not the follower, and look for that opportunity and don't let it go. And maybe you do need to miss out on the fun for a little while. So if you're a Virgo, rising or sun, there could be some peer pressure here as well. A fun time out with friends or colleagues can lead you to do something stupid. So you may be giving up your relationship to, oh, I'm going to live my best life. And oh, this was fun because I'm like flirting with other guys. And, my regular relationships kind of hit a dull spot. Is this really what you want to do? But, grass isn't always greener. So maybe you need to work a little bit harder on your relationship and maybe stop focusing on yourself a little bit. Moving away from selflessness, selfishness to selflessness can be like a double-edged sword, So maybe putting that time in can be a little bit beneficial, and really thinking about what you're doing before you just go and do something stupid. So if you're a Libra, sun or rising, it's your career. It's not really what you thought it was going to be. You're sitting up there in your office by yourself, maybe feeling a little bit isolated, sitting alone. Maybe it's time for a change. Do something. I'm not saying leave your job, but maybe you need to do something more that feeds your needs. Maybe your needs are that you want to, wait on people and help people. Maybe you want to volunteer at a soup kitchen, or maybe you want to, maybe not even that extreme, but this is going to be in your sixth house. So this could be moving towards maybe helping at a pet rescue, dog, cat rescue, something like that. Something that gives you a sense of purpose, that even if you might not be ready to leave your job yet, something that might maybe draw you out of that loneliness, and instead kind of focusing on something that makes you feel good, like you're doing something for the good of, you know, society, for animals, whatever. So if you're a Scorpio rising, it's time to get it all out in the open. Scorpios tend to hold their feelings deep down, and those past, and they could bury it. And when I think of Scorpios, I think that they are, kind of like those bubbling cauldrons. So maybe it's time to open up, and just maybe you need to start spreading the word out, and maybe you need to do it in a creative way, starting a podcast, maybe writing a book. And put your soul into it. Just tell things that might help other people that are going through the same thing. Use your anxieties to kind of help you. Be creative as only a Scorpio can be. Be outside the box. So you can go deep within yourself and bring that out, but bringing it out not just to whine and cry about it, but just to maybe help others get through the same problems. Um, so that this can also be children. Maybe if you've been afraid to have children, if you kind of have been on the fence about that, maybe it's time that you start moving in that direction as well. Maybe looking at having a child, even if you're, single, but you always wanted a child and you feel like you're getting older, I'm never going to have one. Maybe just kind of go for it and, have one on your own if you can do it. So if you're a Sagittarius, sun or rising, your work-life balance might have some putting some strain on your marriage or your relationship. You love your work, you shine at work, you love, the way people look at you, you love the job that you do, you love being that leader, but your focus might need to be at this time more on family. You might need to kind of pull away from work a little bit and focus on family. There could be some issues going on there that you really need to take a look at. You could be also facing issues within your sex life that could be coming up, that could cause strain as well. So um, you want to fall back to your home and family, not for issues with your sex life, but that could really help. So maybe you're at work all day and it's hurting your sex life. So that's where that you want to fall back on home a little bit and spend a little bit more time. If your partner is needing your attention, maybe give a little bit more of yourself. Get out of work a little bit early. Have a nice dinner. Cook dinner for them. Maybe watch a movie together and just sit in each other's presence, and that might stir up a little bit of those emotions. Also, if you're having some difficulty as well, you might want to even rely on your extended family for guidance. They understand you a lot more than you think. They've been through a lot more, especially with parents. If your parents are still alive, grandparents, you could ask them for some advice, and it could help to improve, you know, pretty much where you land every night, when you rest your head and you just feel a little bit more at peace. Um, these are the people that will always be with you, that will always love you. And so not only are they going to be there for you, you want to be there for them as well. So you are a Capricorn sun rising. With this, we also might see a work-life balance issue. Um, you may want to find a purpose. Again, we see a little bit of this. Um, Maybe you want to get your face in the community. Maybe you don't like what's going on around your community. You're like, I am so tired of, the electricity rates going up. I'm so tired of taxes going up. So maybe it's time that you start really putting yourself out in the community, to, you know, say what you feel and say what, your needs might be. Um, you want to help also in the community. Maybe Habitat for Humanity can make you feel good. Look for a reason to help, and it can really help also open a door for you if you think about going into maybe a public servant type job. So people might be grateful for you and learn from their stories. Listen to people. Don't listen to just what professors tell you and what you learn in a book. Maybe listen to the source, people that were in World War II that love to tell their stories. It's fascinating, especially to hear these older generations explain things. So if you're Aquarius, sun or rising, you may be feeling a little bit isolated, missing out on friendships. You might need to start really getting out there, pushing yourself out of that comfort zone to meet people in your own way, joining clubs, maybe a book club if you like reading, something maybe a little bit different. They're just going out, to a bar. Maybe move away from that fear and anxiety and let people see who you really are instead of putting on that fake front. And maybe they'll be like, I can relate to this person a lot more than I thought. Um, Make somebody see that you are that grounded, dependable, maybe even seductive. Focus on those primary needs. Use all of your senses to entice people to, almost flirt with them. Use your eyes, use your ears for listening. Listen to the words that they're saying to you and give, a response back that is meaningful. Maybe give them a little touch on their arm or touch on their shoulder just to show that you care. And when you use all these senses, it really brings things up and it almost will connect you. I'll never forget. the day I met my husband in person, I had seen him a couple times before that, but we were at a restaurant and he touched my arm and it shocked me. It was like, it's kind of that electrical current. You don't maybe know what to do with it at the time, but it's something that I always bring up about our history. So, touch somebody's heart, touch somebody's mind, stimulate them. Pisces, focus on self-confidence and faith in yourself. This can also be hard for Pisces because you may have been told as a child, maybe you weren't good enough, maybe somebody didn't think you were a good artist, a good singer, a good dancer, and maybe you kind of just, said, I'm not good enough, I don't have any talents, that type of thing. Maybe you just don't feel like you just really fit in, but this is what needs to be released to grow and, new and more confident you. Um, Getting a more lucrative career, but don't be afraid to build your career and reputation and also maybe um, do something different, something really different, something that really speaks to you, not something normal. You want to move away from what's just that everyday thing and do something that's special for you. These these ideas that I have, they're all based on how the planets fall. That sounds like it's in here. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I don't think it is. Anyway, this is all how the planets fall in your charts, and it's really going to be different for everybody with the planets that they already have. So whatever you're hitting in your natal chart is going to be different for everybody. But this is kind of, kind of like a broad aspect of it. So I hope you enjoyed. All these things can be difficult. It is difficult to step out of your comfort zone. Um, but we have to do these things to move towards our destiny. This is an eclipse with the North Node. It's moving towards the things that we need in life, not just those things that we want, not just those frivolous things, the best clothes, the best car. It's those real needs that really make you feel whole as a person. It might not be what you expect it to be. Um, so I hope you enjoyed, and please let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think you need to do? What's missing in your life? What do you need to change? And what do you need to enable yourself to push forward, to push out of that comfort zone and to grow as a person? Um, these kind of things, these little things that you don't even realize can really change your life forever. So don't be afraid to just go for it. So, and definitely go ahead with peace in your mind. Try and find some, if it's even possible nowadays with all the craziness going on, but try and find a little bit of peace, a little bit of meditation, a little bit of solitude, even. Also, you want to speak like, you know, speak those positive words to other people, and that will just kind of engage. And you speak positivity, you'll get that back. You talk optimism and happiness, you'll get that back. You talk negative, you're going to get that back. So you want to spew those good things, not the bad things. You also want to find that love in your heart to accept others, to accept the changes that are going on, to accept what is happening in the world around us. The people that may have let you down, you may be looking to a different side and saying like, okay, well, I was mad at these people before. Now we're kind of on the same side. So kind of let a little bit of love in your heart seep out and, extend that olive branch. Also have confidence in yourself. That is most important, and find true love in yourself. And I will see you all